Imagine for a moment, throughout human history, countless empires have risen and fallen. We study the Romans, admire the pharaohs of Egypt, marvel at Greek philosophy. Names that have become synonymous with power, conquest, and, invariably, colossal wealth. But what if I told you that this narrative, often told from a single perspective, has left out one of the most extraordinary figures whose legacy of opulence and influence is so grand that it challenges our very capacity for comprehension?
Prepare to meet a man whose fortune, adjusted for today, would make the most powerful magnates and European monarchs seem like mere administrators of a small cash register. A sovereign who, at the peak of his power, was capable of shaking the very economic foundations of entire continents with a simple gesture of generosity. His name? Mansa Musa, a name that, though less known to many, should be pronounced with the reverence of a legend.
And no, he wasn't born in European courts nor in the prosperous cities of Asia. He was the emperor of one of the largest, richest, and most culturally advanced empires Africa has ever seen. This is the story of how the richest man who ever walked this earth was not who you expected, and how a single yet monumental journey was capable of completely destabilizing the economy of one of the world's most prominent civilizations, Egypt, for over a decade. A story of gold, power, and a global impact that resonates even today. For us to delve into the extraordinary saga of Mansa Musa, we must first transport ourselves through time and space. Forget for a moment medieval Europe, often portrayed as the epicenter of history. Our destination is West Africa in the 14th century. More precisely, where today we find nations like Mali, Mauritania, Niger, and Senegal. There, the Mali Empire flourished, an empire so vast and powerful that at its peak it covered an area equivalent to much of Western Europe.
While Europe yearned for precious metals and sought new trade routes, Mali literally swam in gold. Thanks to vast and unexplored mines, like the legendary mines of Bambouk and Bouré, the empire controlled an impressive share of the world's supply. Scholars and historians estimate that over 50% of all gold in the Old World was under Mali's undisputed dominion. It was the nerve center of trans-Saharan trade, a vital link connecting North Africa to the sub-Saharan regions. Colossal caravans crossed the desert, laden not only with salt, as valuable as gold at the time, but also with fine textiles, exotic spices, valuable manuscripts, and, of course, unimaginable quantities of the golden metal.
But Mali was far more than a mere repository of material wealth. It was a beacon of knowledge, art, and culture during a period when many parts of the world were still in their infancy. Cities like Timbuktu and Djenné were not just commercial hubs, they were vibrant intellectual centers. Their universities, like the legendary University of Sankore in Timbuktu, and their magnificent mosques, attracted thousands of scholars, jurists, and theologians from across the Islamic world. Manuscripts were copied and translated, philosophical and scientific debates were held, and knowledge flourished. It was a true cradle of civilization and intellect, a cosmopolitan metropolis long before many European cultural centers reached their splendor. It was a place where the trade of ideas was as valuable as the trade of gold.
And at the heart of this golden empire, a man who personified its grandeur ascended, Kanku Musa, better known in history as Mansa Musa, the 10th emperor of Mali. His reign, which spanned from 1312 to 1337, was a period of lasting peace, almost mythical prosperity, and unprecedented territorial expansion, which consolidated Mali as one of the greatest powers of its time.
He was a military strategist, a shrewd administrator, and a leader who prioritized the stability and development of his people. But it wasn't just his innate ability as a ruler, or the vastness of his wealth that would make him a legendary figure. It was his deep Muslim faith and a specific event, an epic journey that would immortalize his name forever in the annals of history, marking him as the most prosperous ruler of all time.
In 1324, Mansa Musa, as a devout Muslim and fulfilling one of the pillars of Islam, decided to embark on the sacred journey of the Hajj, the pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. But this would not be just any journey. Far from it. It would be a demonstration of power, unwavering faith, and an opulence so unimaginable that the world, from east to west, would never forget his passage. It was more than a pilgrimage. It was a declaration.
His caravan, my friends, was a breathtaking sight. A true moving city winding through the golden dunes of the Sahara. It is estimated that more than 60,000 men accompanied him, not just soldiers and guards, but also personal servants, heralds, doctors, scholars, and even an entire court. And of course, the centerpiece, more than 100 camels, perhaps even more, each carefully laden with approximately 280 pounds, 130 kilograms of pure gold in the form of dust, bars, and nuggets. Imagine the scene, a glittering river of gold majestically moving across the relentless desert under the African sun. Wherever he passed, the landscape transformed. Entire villages and cities stopped, their inhabitants stunned, to witness this unparalleled spectacle. Mansa Musa wasn't just traveling. He was parading the unparalleled opulence of his empire, leaving a golden trail in his wake.
And Musa's generosity was as legendary as his wealth. Throughout his journey, in every city he passed through, he distributed gold with open hands. Not just small coins, but extravagant gifts of bars and nuggets. For the poor and needy, for the local rulers who received him, for the religious scholars, for anyone who crossed his path with a need or a smile. He ordered the construction of mosques in every city that saw him pass on a Friday, the holy day for Muslims, leaving his indelible mark of faith and power along the route. This generosity was a reflection of his deep faith and his belief in charity, but it was also a calculated demonstration of his power and the inexhaustible wealth of his empire.
The climax of his journey, yet ironically also the most dramatic turning point, was his arrival in Cairo, Egypt. At that time, Cairo was one of the largest, most vibrant, and economically strategic cities in the Islamic world, a hub of global commerce. Mansa Musa, with his excessive generosity and perhaps naivete regarding macroeconomic impacts, began to distribute his gold on an unprecedented scale and seemingly without any restriction. He wanted to showcase the magnificence of his empire and the depth of his faith. He certainly succeeded, but at an unexpected cost.
What initially seemed like a grand and beneficial gesture of benevolence had a truly devastating economic consequence. Cairo's gold market, a delicate ecosystem accustomed to a controlled flow of precious metals, was simply flooded. Suddenly, there was so much gold in circulation that its intrinsic value plummeted dramatically. The law of supply and demand acted mercilessly. Inflation soared to catastrophic and uncontrollable levels. The prices of essential goods and services, food, clothing, land, rose sharply, making life unbearable for the common population. Economies were ruined, merchants went bankrupt, and social stability was severely shaken.
A single journey, a single demonstration of wealth, destroyed Egypt's economy for 12 long years. Yes, you heard that right. 12 years of instability and economic hardship due to the passage of a single man, however powerful he might have been.
Mansa Musa, upon finally realizing the extent of the damage he had caused, attempted, in an act of great foresight, to reverse the situation. He resorted to borrowing money at exorbitant interest rates and tried to buy back the gold he had distributed in a desperate attempt to stabilize the market. But the damage was already done. His name became synonymous not only with unimaginable wealth, but also with an inadvertent yet cataclysmic economic intervention that altered the financial course of an entire nation for over a decade.
Mansa Musa's story is much more than a tale of gold and power. It's a powerful lesson about the power of narrative, the selectivity of historical memory, and what we choose to remember or forget. For a long time, world history has been told predominantly from a Eurocentric perspective, often and unfortunately erasing or diminishing the grandeur, complexity, and undeniable contributions of non-Western civilizations. Mansa Musa and the Mali Empire are a vivid and undeniable reminder that medieval Africa was not a continent of isolated tribes or poverty, but rather of sophisticated empires, vast wealth, intellectual advancements, and global influence that shaped the commerce and culture of the era.
He was the African emperor who, with his unparalleled wealth, controlled half the world's gold. He was the leader whose pilgrimage not only spread his faith, but also made the great powers of the time stop, admire, and at times suffer from his economic impact. He was the man who, involuntarily, caused an economic crisis that redefined the value of gold and the balance of power in the region. Mansa Musa didn't just exist. He challenged every imaginable stereotype about wealth and power in Africa. He proved unequivocally that true wealth, whether material, intellectual, or historical, often lies where we least expect it, and that history is a vast tapestry with threads woven in all colors and continents.
And so, we reach the end of this epic journey. Mansa Musa's story is a powerful reminder that the world is brimming with incredible narratives, many of them still waiting to be discovered and shared. Don't let this adventure end here. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, where we'll unravel more mysteries and explore humanity's most fascinating stories. Give this video a like if you were as impressed as we were by Mansa Musa's wealth and impact. And of course, share this video with friends and family who need to hear this extraordinary tale. Your participation helps us continue to bring you quality content and explore the hidden treasures of history. See you next time.